Hi, I'm an Australian guy living here in Belarus, and I have to say, I didn't know much about Belarus before I moved here. It was going to be a temporary place for me for a few months as a stepping stone to somewhere else as the world was opening up to COVID. Now, I have stuck around here a little bit longer than I anticipated, and look, I have to say, Belarus is largely over-delivered. It's better than I thought it was going to be, and there's a few things that I'm really impressed by here. Let me give you two examples of two things I'm impressed by here. Firstly, I see, this kind of applies more to younger people, maybe 40 and below. I see that here in Minsk, people are very health conscious. They're very aware of what they're eating. It's not just a body thing, not just trying to stay slim or muscular or whatever. It's a health thing. They're very aware of what they're eating, the health implications, the micronutrients, the macronutrients. This is really in their mentality. Walking in the park is like a national pastime, and it's really good. Like it's a fantastic habit to have and a fantastic hobby to have, is just kind of strolling in the park, talking with your friend. Gyms are also very popular. Some sports are popular, becoming more popular, I would say, but not as maybe big as in the West. Tied into this is a massive decrease in alcohol consumption. Like if you go back about maybe 15 years or so, Belarus was the #1 per capita consumer of alcohol in the world. What a title to have, right? Because there's some hefty competition out there. They were #1, say 2005-ish. I could be wrong, give or take 5 years. And the government's done quite a bit of work in terms of public relations, public awareness. Of course, there's a global push to have be more healthy and whatever. That's influenced the population too. But not only has their absolute level of alcohol consumption dropped, but their rankings dropped. Like they're now ranked maybe 25th or 30th in terms of highest consumers of alcohol per capita in the world. And that's pretty impressive. And what I see is a lot of younger people don't drink at all. And that suits me because I don't drink. Like I don't want to get smashed off any alcohol. I just want to live my life, right? I don't care about this stuff. You can have a beer if you want. I'll even have a beer occasionally myself, but it's not a priority for me, right? I don't really want to do this. So it's really good for me to see so many people not drinking and for that to be normalized. And you can kind of trace this back through history. So you have these heavy drinking Soviets, right? The misery and poverty that 3 or 4 generations of Soviet living ends up with, and they end up just getting drunk all the time, right? Because alcohol's cheap and there's nothing else to do because we don't have anything more than the basics. So you kind of get this alcohol kind of culture. But then what happens is a lot of younger guys I've spoken to here, young Belarusian men, 18 to 25, they're like, I saw my father drink, right? I don't want to be like that. Like, not just that, it's health as well, but it's like, there's a direct reaction to the previous culture. So you have this initial Soviet time, people were miserable, so they drank too much, but then there's a generational shift away from that. This is, again, not everybody. I'm talking mainly in inner city Minsk here, but there is some pushback, and you can see that in the data. Like they're pretty comparable now with Australia in terms of alcohol consumption. Also with the health thing, I've noticed hygiene is a big thing here. Hygiene is a big thing. I've made a whole video on this, which I'll release shortly, but they're really into things being clean, things being hygienic, including around food, but just generally in life, right? So I've been very impressed how the sub-40s of Minsk have really adopted this very positive lifestyle change. Because globalism brings a whole lot of stuff, right? Some good, some bad. But I think the push towards more awareness of your own health can only really be a positive thing. Also, cigarettes here, by the way. I don't see a lot of smokers, but the smoking rate here is 30%, but it's come down in 20 years from 42%. Now, this is probably pretty consistent with what you're seeing around the world in terms of decreasing, but they also here, they've adopted a lot of this modern stuff, such as with cigarettes, you can't see them, right? Like in a Western country, they're blocked off, you can't see them in the supermarket. When you get the packet, there's a picture of the guy dying of some cancer with big words saying this is bad for you. So you have this kind of stuff here in Belarus as well. Now the second thing, so I said, promise you two things, right, that I've been kind of impressed by, or Belarus is kind of over-delivered with. The second one is the medical system. Because the reality is, I know when I'm going from Australia to some unknown ex-Soviet country, I know that some of the institutions are not going to function very well, right? That's just given. And that's kind of true, but also kind of not. Like a lot of stuff works here really, really well. And the medical system has been incredible. I have been to an oncologist gastrologist and a dentist during my time here. And I would say that the service, professionalism, thoroughness, care have been comparable with Australia. In fact, almost on average better. I mean, my experiences in Australia have been good with medical care in general, but the one thing here that makes it better is that you can get in anywhere like that week. If I call whatever specialist, like I want to come and see you, I can get in tomorrow or the next day. In Australia, I've waited sometimes months to be able to see a specialist. So that's probably the one big difference. But as I say, the professionalism of medical services here has been incredible, like really mind-blowing. I didn't expect this. Coming from Australia to little old Belarus that no one knows, including myself, your expectations are low. Like really, they are. It sounds awful, but they're low. But Belarus in so many ways has exceeded my expectations. I'm really shocked at what a thriving little civilization it is. But anyway, so the medical stuff is really good here. You can trust them. I don't get the sense that there's much corruption in the medical system here. If you go to some of the neighboring countries around, the ones I'm talking about, the corruption in their medical industries is incredible. Like you want to go to Russia, Ukraine, probably Moldova as well. These medical systems, there's so much corruption inside of them. You're just struggling to get a doctor to see you and just to give you an honest opinion on what's wrong with you, Plus all these other stories I've heard over the years about things in these countries. Whereas here it's like, the three experiences I've had, right? They've all been fast, they've been honest. One did jack up the prices quite a bit. Okay, whatever. Two didn't. And again, just the thoroughness in the care and the professionalism, the speed. Okay, the building didn't look very good for the oncology thing. It was like an old Soviet building, whatever, but the equipment was state of the art and so was the professionalism of the staff. So these are two things that I've been impressed by in Belarus. Let me know if you're living here and you're a foreigner, let me know something that's impressed you, or if you're a foreigner anywhere in the world and you've gone to a country, maybe one that you didn't know much about, like me here with Belarus, maybe a country where your expectations were very low. Let me know your experiences. What have you seen? What have you experienced in whatever country that you're in at the moment?
Here is some B-roll footage, and this is my classroom, where I've been coming for the last 12 months to learn Russian language as a foreign student here. Your initial impressions are probably similar to all of the foreign students that came here, and that is, this is simple. This is functional. Let me talk you through this, because actually, to be fair, the university is very modern in terms of the other rooms. Like 90% of the rooms seem to be renovated in a very modern way, and this one isn't. But nonetheless, this has been our room, and as I say, as you arrive, you're just like, geez, this is like worn through here. Right? This is, I don't know, maybe a 1970s make, and you kind of like chuckle about it, and then it's funny because after about a week, you forget about it, and you actually don't care. You don't care that these aren't $800 chairs. I worked at a university in Melbourne. I was a lecturer in Australia, and they spent like $600 per chair on student chairs. Obviously, it's just a scam. It was obviously jobs for mates, typical kind of government corruption, where you've got overpaying for contracts and your mate owns a company, or maybe even you do own the company, or you get some kind of kickback or whatever. Anyway, they spent $800 per student chair. Could you imagine such a waste of money? 800 Australian, sorry, so about 600 or 550 US per chair. And it's funny because after probably a week, you don't even notice. It's like, whatever, you just sit down, get down, up with the board, all right, dobre utra, and away you go, right? So it's kind of overrated, to be honest. It actually, as much as it quote unquote looks nice, it actually doesn't really matter that much. Like if you just got used to this, then that's what it is. You'd much rather resources go into something else. But anyway, as I say, most rooms are actually renovated properly and well. I'll try and grab a bit of footage as I walk out today of that. So anyway, as foreigners, we looked at this room, like, geez, what's going on here? So what is this? But after all, we didn't care too much.